The sky over Germany was no longer theirs. Once, the Luftwaffe ruled the air. Sleek Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs had swept across Europe like hawks. But by 1944, that age was over. The Allies now came by the thousands, waves of bombers darkening the sky, escorted by P-51 Mustangs and Spitfires. German cities burned, factories crumbled. The Reich was dying. And yet, even as the end approached, something extraordinary was taking shape on the airfields of Bavaria, a sound the world had never heard before. A sharp rising whine, not the roar of a piston engine, but the scream of a jet. For the first time in history, man had built a fighter that no propeller could match. The Messerschmitt Me 222, the world's first operational jet fighter. It was the plane that could have changed the war, if it had come sooner. The idea of a jet-powered aircraft didn't begin with the Nazis. In the early 1930s, engineers around the world dreamed of using turbines instead of propellers. In Britain, Frank Whittle built the first working jet engine in 1937. In Germany, a young engineer named Hans von Ohain was working on the same idea, independently. His prototype, small, loud, and unstable, caught the attention of one man, Willy Messerschmitt, the ambitious aircraft designer behind Germany's fastest fighters. Together, they built something revolutionary, a sleek metal machine powered by twin turbojets. Its name, the Messerschmitt Me 222. When the prototype first flew in 1942, test pilots were stunned. The Me 222 reached speeds of 70 kilometers per hour, faster than anything the Allies had. It climbed like lightning. It could dive through bomber formations and vanish before enemy fighters could react. The jet age had arrived. But Hitler saw it differently. Instead of recognizing the Me 262 as a fighter, he insisted it be turned into a bomber. "It will strike London," he declared, "my Blitz bomber, the weapon of revenge." The order delayed production by nearly a year. Engineers pleaded with him. The Me 262 was built to hunt, not bomb. But Hitler refused to listen. While the Allies perfected their air supremacy, Germany's greatest weapon sat idle. Finally, in mid-1944, the first Me 262 squadrons were ready for combat. The Allies were shocked. The jet was unstoppable in the sky. It could outfly and outrun anything. A Me 262 could strike a formation of B-17s, destroy several, and disappear before escorting fighters arrived. Its twin jet engines, Jumo 004s, gave it terrifying acceleration, but they were also fragile. The engines used scarce materials like chromium and nickel, metals Germany no longer had. As a result, engineers substituted cheaper alloys, and the engines lasted barely 25 flight hours before burning out. Every takeoff was a gamble. Still, when it worked, the Me 262 was unlike anything in the sky. Allied pilots described their shock the first time they saw one. "It came from nowhere, a silver flash, faster than anything I'd ever seen. Then it was gone." The Luftwaffe's first jet unit, Jagdgeschwader 7, Nowotny, was formed under the command of Major Walter Nowotny, one of Germany's top aces. On his first sortie, he downed multiple American bombers in seconds. But he soon discovered the jet's greatest weakness. It was unbeatable in the air, but vulnerable on the ground. The Me 222 needed long runways and took time to accelerate. Allied P-51 Mustangs learned to circle airfields, waiting for the jets to land or take off, striking them when they were helpless. Nowotny himself was killed during the takeoff in late 1944. His death became a symbol of how brilliance could not overcome chaos. By early 1945, about 400 Me 262s had been built, but fewer than 300 ever saw combat. Germany had the technology to change the world, but not the resources, fuel, or time to use it. Still, when they flew, they terrified the enemy. In one mission, a handful of Me-262s destroyed an entire Allied bomber formation. Pilots like Adolf Galland, commander of Germany's fighter forces, flew the jet and declared, "It was like being a god in the sky." Yet even Galland admitted it was too late. The Me-262 could not stop the inevitable. In April 1945, as Allied troops closed in, the remaining Me-262s were scattered across airfields, hiding under camouflage. Many were destroyed by their own crews to prevent capture. Others were seized intact by American and Soviet soldiers, trophies of the future. When American pilots first tested the Me-262, they were stunned. The aircraft was decades ahead of its time. Its swept wings, jet propulsion, and aerodynamic design became the blueprint for all future fighters, from the F-86 Sabre to the MiG-15. After the war, German engineers and test pilots were captured and recruited. In America, through Operation Paperclip, their designs influenced the birth of the U.S. jet program. In the Soviet Union, captured Me-262s were studied and reverse-engineered. The Cold War jet race had begun, powered by technology born in Hitler's collapsing empire. Willy Messerschmitt was imprisoned for aiding the Nazi regime, but after his release, he continued designing aircraft, this time for a peaceful world. Today, only a handful of Me-262s survive, silent relics of an age when technology outpaced morality. In museums, their silver frames still look futuristic, sleek, beautiful, deadly. Engineers study them not just as weapons, but as symbols of how innovation can emerge even from chaos. The Me-262 was not just the first jet fighter. It was the dawn of a new era, the moment mankind leapt from propellers to the jet age. But it also serves as a warning. That progress, in the wrong hands, can arrive not as salvation, but as destruction. When the Me-262 took flight, it marked the end of one world and the birth of another. A machine born in war became the ancestor of every jet that followed. From the roar of the Me-262 over Germany, to the scream of Concorde and the thunder of spacecraft, its legacy lives on in every engine that lifts us skyward. It was a weapon, a miracle, and a prophecy. The jet that changed everything.